UFC Fight Night Macau just took place, and I'm going to give you my reaction to the entire card with every single fight. I went 7-6 on the card, bringing my overall record to 303 and 184. Overall, it was a pretty good card, man. There was some really, really good fights, good scraps. Don't know what it is with Asians and not moving their head, but like you watch the whole prelims and like there wasn't a single fighter that was on the road to the UFC or that is of Asian descent that was moving their head. Even Ming Yang Zhang wouldn't do it, but that fight was pretty short-lived. Sick fights, like really, it was a good card. There were some absolute bangers, not necessarily the most high level of fights, but there were some bangers on this card in terms of slugfest, especially like the second fight in the card. The Zhao Long fight was awesome. Yeah, there were a few stinkers, but overall, like you're going to have a couple of stinkers here and there. Kong Wang got fucking fraud checked. Not really. She was winning the fight and then got dropped by Gabriela Fernandez and then choked out. What a shitty way to fucking lose. That sucks, dude, because I still think Kong Wang can be something, and I literally just tooted the horn of like she's my favorite female prospect, and it got her knocked out. So I mushed it, guys, but we're going to talk about the first fight in the card, Nicholas Mota versus Mahashate. Nicholas Mota looked really good. He won the fight 30-27. Had a couple of knockdowns in this fight, and when it started, it was like, okay, this fight's a little slow. And then about a minute in, Mahashate gets a clinch knee that sits down Nicholas Mota. They didn't call it a knockdown, but I kind of thought it was. But anyway, they end up standing in the pocket and start slinging. Mota's looking fast with his combos, landing really, really well. That hook is coming in after his 1-2 pretty quick, and he ends up getting a knockdown himself at the end of round one. So I do think Mota gets the first round. I also think he got the second and third, by the way, so I agree with the 30-27 scorecard. But what I'm noticing as we're completing round one and round two starting to come up is, dude, Mahashate does not move his head at all. Like, his head movement's really slow, and if someone wants to sling, he doesn't really want to get it. He just kind of wants to bite down on the mouthpiece and throw back, which is, much respect to that, but you're gonna get chinned when you're fighting guys like that are fast and powerful like Nicholas Mota was. He looked fast, he looked strong, and he was landing really good shots on Mahashate. He started spamming some hooks, and it worked out. But then he had a step in 2-3 where he wasn't throwing the jab first. He would step in and lunge with the 2 and follow with the hook. And that was what was really catching Mahashate. Ended up knocking him down the second time. But they were just sitting in there trading. And Mahashate does not look great on his back foot at all. Especially for a guy that's longer. I'd like to see him work on being able to kind of jab and move out of the way, jab, kick the legs a little bit, almost take over a little bit of the Izzy style when he's on his back foot, and then get to the front foot and land his combinations. But Nicholas Mota looked really good in this fight. I should have fucking picked him. He liked one of my reels, and I was like, I'm never picking against him because he liked one of my reels. He's the first guy to do it in the UFC, I believe, and yeah, I didn't, and it fucking bit me in the ass. So, great performance from Nicholas Mota. Looked very good. Mahashate did not look great. So, this is like, I want to say the third performance now where we've been like, this guy's going to get better. He's only 24, and he's just like, same shit's happening. Like, work on your head movement, buddy. You really got to work on your head movement because that's what's going to get you to do better. But we're going to move on. Zhao Long and Kang Lee. I thought Kang Lee in the first round was a lock. He was beating the shit out of Zhao Long. He had a moment where they didn't give him the knockdown, but he really hurt Zhao Long early. And, God forbid the guy wins after beating Chris Gutierrez. Losing to Chris Gutierrez barely. He looked decent against Chris Gutierrez, who's a high-ranked bantamweight. Zhao Long lost to Chang Ho Lee, who was making his UFC debut in the Road to UFC fight that they had, and he lost. And he looked terrible in it. But then all of a sudden, Kang Lee goes out there, lands some really good shots, is looking like the better striker. Then round two comes along and Kang Lee's gassed out. He's exhausted. And then he starts throwing lazy shots. And you look at this fight, and these guys are now slugging it out. Sick, fun fight. Not high level, but fun fight. They're swinging and banging in the pocket. Each are landed on each other as we get into that second round. Lee's looking sharper with the combos, but then Zhao Long is the one that's able to just string along a lot of these combinations to be longer and then end up really putting a pace, kind of, on Kang Lee. Round three comes around, and it's a close fight, right? It's 1-1, and then you just see the second Kang Lee gets off the stool. You're like, this dude is checked out. He's exhausted. Legit quits to exhaustion, throws a lazy body kick, that all he like falls over from, gets up, and then Zhao Long marches him down, lands a 1-2, and Kang Lee goes down and the fight's over. Way to stay in there from Zhao Long. Not a high-level fight, but this fight was a scrap. It was a really, really fun fight. So I start the card 0-2. Thought Kang Lee was just a better fighter. Boy, was I wrong, I guess. This fight was a little underwhelming, I'm not going to lie. I thought Loner Kavanagh was going to get a finish, but hey, Jose Ochoa used his range well. He was able to blast some kicks. Kavanagh had moments where he looked very skillful, very powerful, measured, and he ended up winning the decision here pretty clearly in my eyes. I think it was a 29-28. Yeah, there was a 30-27 sprinkled in there, but I agree with the decision. Think that Loner Kavanagh looked better. Think that he was able to use his punches a lot better. Jose Ochoa was really struggling to get his hands going. He was doing great with the kicks, but he was really struggling to get the hands going, where Loner Kavanagh was able to kind of mix the hands in. And most of this fight was done at kicking range, so to be able to see Loner Kavanagh get the hands involved, like when he would throw the jab and follow up with a 2, or he would go jab, realize he's not getting the distance, and then he'd go jab, jab 2 to get in there. There was technique, there was skill. He was getting better as the fight was going on, and I thought it was a pretty impressive performance. Landed a couple of really good kicks, threw some kicks up high that just missed hitting cleanly. Like I think Goodman said they tickled the chin, which was a pretty good way of putting it. They did. Loner Kavanagh looked good. Jose Ochoa, I don't think he's bad. I just think that these guys knew that there were power in the hands, and Loner Kavanagh did a good job of getting in and out of range when he wanted to use the hands, and then when he stayed at kicking range, staying active enough where it was neutralizing what Jose Ochoa was doing on the outside. Decent fight. Little bit of a low output, but it was a decent fight. This was a pretty low-level fight, not going to lie. Tumen Dembaral, I'm never going to get that right. Tumen Dembaral against Carlos Hernandez. I think this fight was scored correctly. I thought Hernandez won rounds 2 and 3. There's an argument, I guess, for Tumen Dembaral, but like realistically, the only way you're giving him round 3 is because of that shot he landed at the end. Everything else was Carlos Hernandez for that whole round, and it was a lot of Carlos Hernandez just being a little bit more skillful and experienced. That's really what this fight looked like. Tumen Dembaral, I thought was going to be a good grappler, so I thought Hernandez was going to land more on the feet, but it turns out Tumen Dembaral got out-grappled by Hernandez here, and Hernandez just looked better. He was pushing a better pace. He had more experience, and it really showed in this fight. There was a higher pace in grappling in round 1 that I think Hernandez was using to try and tire out Tumen Dembaral. But there was a strong left hook at the end of round 1 that I did end up giving Tumen Dembaral, whatever the fuck his name is. I gave him the round based off of that. And he had like a moment where he was going for a submission early, so I give him the round. But rounds 2 and 3, Hernandez just out-grappled him in round 2, got to a strong position. Now, I will say Hernandez was very hesitant to throw good ground and pound in the positions here, but he ended up winning in control. And then round 3 was just them kind of trading at range back and forth with low-level fight technique. And I thought Hernandez edged out the round. So Hernandez gets the decision. Was a pretty low level, not great fight. Not good stock for both of them, honestly, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Another low level fight, low level women's MMA. Now, Feng Xiaocan looked decent at times, being on the outside, controlling the punches. Like, she had some pretty decent counters at points. She had good kicks that were landing pretty well. But Shai Ming was just staying in there, staying gritty, didn't get knocked out. And then it got to round 3. And Shai Ming set up her head kick with a good kick to the body, so that way when the head kick came, Feng Xiaocan's hands were a little bit low, and they weren't quick enough to get up top to defend, and Shai Ming just landed that kick perfectly on Feng Xiaocan's chin, and just knocked her out cold. She had to get stretchered out of there after, a little bit of a scary moment, but holy smokes, sick knockout. They weren't really throwing enough early on, but that head kick really kind of gets rid of the fact that like it was a low output fight kind of. Slept her really bad. And the funny thing is, like Bisping saying on commentary at the time, she's got to go for the takedown. That's her only way to win the fight. Nope. Sets up with a body kick and then lands a head kick up top. As Shai Ming is going for the just murder of Zhao Can because she is now seeing that she's out cold and she's just landing the ground and pound waiting for the ref. Ref dives in, insane gator roll. Grabs, turns, spins them off, saves Zhao Can's life. Sick gator roll moment. But But yeah, what a fucking head kick. Probably a performance of the night coming out for Shai Ming. I haven't really looked at the performance of the nights yet, but Shai Ming looked really not great and then landed an insane head kick. So that might get a performance of the night. I would assume outside of that, the only, like, Moda might get one. Yeah, I think we might see Moda get one. Don't think Xiao Long's really going to get one. Xiao Long and King Lee might get a fight of the night, honestly. I thought it was a scrap, but we'll see. Then you get Sahota and Choi. Kairu Sahota, I didn't realize how fucking lankily he was built. Did not realize that. Looked awful. No damage, like, able to be thrown. Lanky, misses a ton of strikes, just throws a bunch of shit and misses, where Dong Hung Choi was doing the thing where he was sitting there and watching, Sahota throw like a fucking tard and miss all these shots, and he's making reads, and he's like, all right, I know where my counters are. Found out where his counters are, and landed the shot that put him out. Slipped an overhand early, which landed and it was really nice. Then they kind of get in the pocket and start throwing combinations where Sahota's missing because he's dumb and bad at fighting. And then Dong Hung Choi just ends up kind of landing almost a Holloway where he's like throwing a bunch in the pocket and he finished it with a clean overhand that slept Sahota. Now, one thing I will say that I forgot to mention about the Xiao Long fight. Xiao Long needs to not fucking point at the ground every 2 seconds. He spam emoted in that fight. Every 5 seconds, Xiao Long was going, pointing to the ground, pointing to the... You're not Max Holloway, lil bro. You didn't even have a win in the UFC up until this fight. Don't fucking do that shit constantly. You can do it in the last couple seconds of the fight, and if you guys really are going to throw down and do it. But you can't every 2 seconds, every time there's a break, point to the ground. If you want to scrap, go throw. Like, go in there and go throw your combos. So annoying that he did that. But, yeah, going back to Dong Hung Choi, landed the great overhand that ended up knocking him out. Started spamming some counter or power hooks, which looked really, really fun, I guess. He made the fight interesting because you're just sitting there and you're watching Sahota strike and you're like, damn, I know I picked him, but I kind of want him to get fucking knocked out. And he got slumped. That slip overhand was so nice. I should have known a guy with Kairu Sahota's fucking build was going to get slumped. Like, he's got that soy man's build. So good win from Dong Hung Choi. That's really all I got to say about that. We're going to move on. This was one of the shittier fights of the night. I really think this was a fucking terrible fight. Barjang Gialesi versus Sung Young Yu. Sung Young Yu was just better. He was able to actually land where Barjang Gialesi couldn't land a significant strike. Everything he wanted to throw was pitter-patter. He went 9 for 72 on significant strikes, guys. That's really all you need to see. Like, he was missing everything. It literally looked like women's MMA. He was missing every punch he was throwing. It was so ugly to watch, so boring. Sung Young Yu was better in the striking and in the grappling and won the fight because of it. Like, I think a lot of the strikes that actually landed, the 48 strikes from Barjang Gialesi, was like from him on bottom landing like the fucking tap of the ear when you're on bottom. Just terrible, terrible fight, honestly. Sung Young Yu got the win. Didn't look super impressive doing it. Landed the strikes that he needed to win, and then implemented the wrestling where it gave him the edge in the fight. So he wins. Pretty clean win. We're going to move on. And now we get to the main card, which was pretty solid. Ming Yang, great knockout. This dude, I swear, is so flat-footed, never moves his chin, and he gets tired in 2 minutes. But when you put lower-level competition in front of him like Ozzy Diaz, he's going to knock them out. Like, this guy has crazy power. That fucking elbow was nasty. He's literally sitting in there, and he just stepped in with a short lead elbow and knocked out Ozzy Diaz. Sick win from Ming Yang Zhang. I love watching this dude fight. It's fucking fireworks. Kill or be killed in the octagon every time. I don't care that it's not the most pretty technique. It is fun to watch every time this guy gets in there. Round 1 KO from Ming Yang Zhang. Called that one. Started to pick things up as we got to the end of the card here with getting things right. Carlos Ulberg wins a decision. Now, this one was interesting because when I'm watching this fight happen, before the fight was like, I'm going to expect Ulberg to use his kicks, be able to time them very well, and then Ozdemir is going to blitz in with a bunch of combinations, land some hooks. Ulberg's going to land the check left hook after it. Things went a little bit differently. It started and Volkan Ozdemir was the one landing the kicks. Like, he looked good landing a lot of those kicks. He was 28 to 28 to the legs. And he was able to blitz in with some of those combinations. And early in the fight, like he was landing some shots on Olberg, but as the fight progressed, Olberg hit his flow state. As Ozdemir would blitz in, Olberg would just check with the hook and kind of send Ozdemir wobbling for a sec. And then he would do the same thing again. Then he would start mixing up combinations. And this is what I wasn't seeing from Olberg in fights past that I really liked in this fight was he was mixing combinations and ending with a hook to the body rather than keeping everything up top. He was ending it to the body, and he wasn't ending it with kicks. He was ending it with punches to the body, those hooks to the body, and they were landing. They were starting to take their toll on Volkan Ozdemir. Then you see Ozdemir getting a little frustrated. He's using kicks to get on the inside, and then he's blitzing with hooks. And then Olberg's kind of just timing when he's going to blitz with a hook, and before he can actually take that step to do so, he sticks him with a jab. And he would stick him with the jab and stick him with the jab again to make sure that Ozdemir wasn't able to really get those blitzes going once it came to round 3. Thought it was a really good performance from Olberg. Thought this was a pretty good fight. There was just danger at all moments in the fight, but listen, Ozdemir's solid. Olberg's that good though. Like Olberg's left hook is a fucking problem. Like he's gonna actually. He's a top 5 guy in this division. Would love to see him fight against like a Jamal Hill. Love to see him fight against a Yuri Prochazka. Like Olberg should get one of these bigger name fights now. He fought Ozdemir, who's ranked 8-1. Let's get him into the top 5. Maybe even a Khalil Roundtree I'm okay with, but this is a good fight. Volkan Ozdemir, Carlos Olberg, really, really entertaining. Not as entertaining as some of the prelim fights, not gonna lie. Like just this one was a little more technical. But Olberg looked good. Ozdemir, again, with the kicks were fine, but just as he was blitzing in, I was really impressed with the timing that Olberg had. So I think he's going to be able to use that left hook, and he's finding other punches now, and it's crazy to see because he's 34, and he has a young UFC career pretty much, like, 4 years in the UFC so far? But he's still making improvements, and that's kind of what I want to see. It looks like, and this is kind of what I talked about, is his gym, City Kickboxing, they don't have all these champions that they need to focus on now. So they're able to focus on these new up-and-coming contenders. Like, they're not working on the Izzy defense. They're not working on the Volk defense. They're working on the Kai Kara France getting the title shot. Carlos Olberg rocketing up the division, and with the way Pereira fights, like, they're going to want to do striker versus striker, and Olberg is a striker, so Olberg gets one more win. Pereira beats Ankalaev. I bet it's Olberg getting the title shot because he's a new guy that Pereira hasn't faced, and he's a striker, so it's going to be a good matchup for him. Good fight, though. Really good fight. Good performance from Olberg. Just so happens, I tell everyone about my favorite new prospect, and she gets fucking choked out after getting knocked down. Wayne Kong looked good in this fight. She was landing good punches, like not doing much to the head, but her kicks on the outside were great. Landing low kicks, landing to the body, had good timing, great pressure, was able to keep Fernandez against the fence the whole time, and wins round 1 dominantly. And you're like, dude, she's just going to either cruise her way to a decision or land the shot that's going to knock out Fernandez. Here we are in round 2. Wayne Kong's getting confident, marching her down. Same things happen as round 1. It's the same story, using her kicks, landing to the body, landing to the legs, getting a couple punches in up top, and then it gets reckless, and Fernandez just sits down on a left hand, knocks down Wayne Kong, and kudos to Fernandez, because the speed that she jumped on the back and took the choke was insane. Great fight IQ moment right there where she got the knockdown and immediately jumped on the back, latched the choke up, and the ref had to jump in and stop it because Wayne Kong just wasn't moving. I think Wayne Kong was out, came back too pretty quickly after, but great performance from, Gabriela Fernandez did what she had to do to win. She took the little bit of a beating that she had early and then ended up sitting down, landing a big, powerful shot and getting the choke. So good win for Fernandez. That's huge for her. And can I ask, why is it in MMA that we don't get the fun prospect to move on all the time? Like, Sanko jinxed, and I love Sanko. Everything about Sanko. Love her. Love her. But she jinxed Wayne Kong right off the bat. Right off the bat. This is like the Pereira and Izzy thing where you got the champion right now, Izzy or Valentina, and you have Wayne Kong who's beaten him before in another sport and now coming over to make a name for herself. You jinxed her! We're trying to have fun with a fucking woman's prospect for once. But we can't have that because we're not allowed to have nice things in the women's division. It's fucking annoying. Finally have a great prospect. Someone who's marketable. Dresses as the Joker. Fucking fake fires the gunshots at the face-offs. Great fun fight style. Has a sick highlight reel knockout right off the bat. But we don't get that kind of fun, do we? We don't get that. Stupid, annoying. I fucking hate it sometimes, man. I just wanted the fucking one women's prospect that I was excited about to actually do something. Nope, we don't get that. Now we get to watch fucking Erin Blanchfield and do her fucking boring, dumb shit. And now Gabriela Fernandez gets to move up in the division. She might make the rank. Like, beating Wayne Kong by finish is a more impressive win than half of the flyweights have in the ranking. So I might put her in my ranking. So stay tuned for that this week. We're going to move on. I'm so disappointed that Wayne Kong lost, man. Speaking of disappointment, Song Kanong's the only guy that can make a 40-year-old still look good. Song Kanong looked slow. He looked not great. And Muslim Salikov, right off the bat, early and often, blasted the low kicks that were there to hit from Song Kanong. Knew they were there to hit. I just thought Kanong was going to be able to kind of bully, because he looked bigger than Muslim Salikov. Thought he was going to be able to bully Muslim Salikov and walk him down the whole time. Salikov landed those low kicks, had Song Kanong thinking about him early, and then before you know it, spinning back kick, hits Song Kanong right in the temple, knocks him out cold. Great knockout, great performance from Muslim Salikov, and at 40 years old, he's still doing it. Yeah, I mean, just the low kicks were good, really good, landing constantly, and they were damaging the shin early. And it just set up the spinning back kick to the point where Song Kanong wasn't even thinking about the spin kick, because all he was thinking about is the kicks that are going low. Perfect technique in the setup. Muslim Salikov just kind of out-vetted Song Kanong, and it's crazy because Song Kanong is 34 with 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, so he's not a rookie. Muslim Salikov just out-vetted him, and he's still out here winning fights at 40 years old, so kudos to him. We'll see what's next for him. Did I not tell you guys this was the lock of the card? Tabitha Ricci is so fucking hot, dude. So hot. Babe. Bunda. Absolute cake. Perfect, perfectly crafted human. Shit at fighting. That's the point. That's the whole thing. She can be as beautiful as she wants, but she is so shit at fighting that if a fighter makes it so it's not close, you can't just gift her a decision because she's that hot. You can't do it. Zhang Xiaonan is actually really, really good at fighting, so I don't know how everyone else expected this fight to go because Tabitha Ricci doesn't have a wrestling game. She doesn't know how to strike well. She's not good at striking. Zhang Xiaonan is just levels above her, and you saw that in this fight. Zhang Xiaonan had her way, was not missing punches, able to outland in tremendous fashion, legs, body, head, mixing it up really well, outboxed, outkicked, did everything better than Tabitha Ricci in this fight other than looks. It's really how it was. Look at the strike totals from Tabitha Ricci. 17 out of 106 landed strikes total. 8 out of 85 to the head. She landed less than 10% of her strikes to the head. Don't get me wrong, Tabitha Ricci, I love ya. I do. You're shit at fighting. You lost to Angela Hill, you lost to Tisha Pennington. You can only rob your way to the top so much until you face someone that's so much better than you that you do not stand a chance in the fight and the judges can't save you. They can't. So as hot as Tabitha Ricci is, we knew what this outcome was going to be. I told you guys, it was the lock of the card. The fact that it was minus 200 was crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. Great performance from Yan Xiaonan, just showing levels. And I really don't think there's a strawweight better than Yan Xiaonan other than Zhang Weili. We should just do Yan Xiaonan and Zhang Weili fighting constantly. Tatiana Suarez, maybe. We'll see that. But I really do think Yan Xiaonan is better than her. I do. Yan Xiaonan, great performance, great victory, just destroyed Tabitha Ricci. Not as bad as I would, though, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we're moving on to Petr Yan versus Davison Figueiredo. If Callum Walsh ever sees that, he'll be pissed. But you know what? Everyone's thinking it, Callum Walsh. She's a babe. Speaking of babes, Petr Yan. Okay. I mean, come on, dude. Was this not what we wanted to see? Good fight, technical fight. Petr Yan gets it done by decision. 50-45's Davison Figueiredo. Could have been, I predicted 49-46. I thought Figgy would have gotten the first round, but he didn't. Figgy does get that takedown in the first round early and has about 2 minutes of the control, but Petr Yan's just, He's so good, man. He's able to reverse. He's a hard guy to control. And he was able to kind of roll to the point where Figgy was never really in a dominant position. He was just holding onto an arm of Petr Yan. And Petr Yan was able to like latch up the leg and make sure that he was able to roll and stuff and not get caught in a submission. He was never really in danger when he was on the ground with Figgy. And then Petr Yan gets into dominant position, starts landing good ground and pound of his own, and wins round 1 because of it. Round 2... Petr Yan is no longer waiting until round 3 to get going, because round 2, Petr Yan really starts to get going. Landing great punches. He outstruck Figgy, landing side kicks, body kicks, oblique kicks. Like, the body kicks he were landing was so fast. And then he would just land the oblique kicks perfectly timed to bother Figgy, where Figgy wasn't able to do the thing where he likes to lunge in and land a fast 2. Now, he had a moment in round 2 where he hurt Yan, but Yan was just beating him everywhere to the punch other than that one moment. So Yan wins round 2, just outstriking Figgy, looking really good with his kicks. And that's the thing is, like, we go crazy about Petr Yan's boxing and his timing and his high guard, which was perfect. Like, his high guard was there. And there were punches that Figgy could have landed to the body, which, as the fight went on, he realized that, and he was landing him to the body, getting really good digs. But, like, the high guard of Yan was really throwing Figgy off a lot. And Yan was able to throw those kicks and mess up the timing of Figgy. Yan he hit his flow state early. And it was messing with Figgy's timing. And Figgy started to get frustrated where all of a sudden round 3 comes in. Figgy shoots a takedown that was pretty well timed. But you kind of knew it was coming because of the failure in the striking that was happening. I don't want to say failure in the striking, but Figgy wasn't having as much success in the striking. So you knew the takedown was coming at some point. And Yan did too, because the second Figgy shot it, Yan grabs the leg and just reverses it, and then they get back to standing on the feet, and you're like, dude, Yan is fucking world champion level right now. Yan is one of the best fighters at bantamweight. Now the Merab fight is tricky for him, but I think Yan has a great chance against a guy like Umar. Think he has a good chance in a rematch against O'Malley. Think he would beat Sandhagen again. Think he beats anyone not named Merab. And granted, he has a really good chance against Merab, because one of the things that I'm going to mention that we started seeing in round 3 from Yan is he realized, if Figgy wants to shoot so much, I'm going to start throwing shit up the middle. And that's one of the things he wasn't doing against Merab. He wasn't throwing things up the middle, and the knee's great. Don't get me wrong. Throwing the knee up the middle is awesome. But Figgy started getting up close and started throwing those little dirty boxing uppercuts that were really starting to tag Figgy. And he would follow up with a combination off that uppercut. It would go uppercut, hook, straight, hook. And I'm like, dude, that's a fucking perfect combination to catch Merab too. So I'm looking and he's starting to figure these things out. And it's crazy because Petr Yan, again, at the age of 33 or 34, he's still getting better and getting better and getting better. I'm like, this guy's awesome. Every time I watch him fight, he's fucking awesome. God, I love Petr Yan, dude. He might be my favorite fighter at bantamweight. I think he is. Petr Yan is, I'm going to say it right now, he's my favorite fighter at bantamweight, not named Jose Aldo. He's awesome, dude. His fight style is so much fun. And round 3, he's really tagging and really hurting Figgy, dominating him, throwing that stuff up the middle, and it would be like Figgy started to get like tired, and he would like lean in head first to try and like get into close range so he can see if he could even get to the grappling, and that's when Yan would kind of lean into uppercut, hook, straight, hook. And I'm like, dude, this is like world-class technique right now. And it was a good fight. Now, it wasn't a fight of the year banger. It was a great fight, very highly skilled, very high technique. But, like, that's what it was, a very technical, skilled, high-level fight. Not a slugfest, but it was a skilled, high-level fight that was very entertaining to watch if you're a hardcore fan, I'd imagine. Round 4, Yan continuing to throw stuff up the middle, and he's really just outclassing Figgy at this point. Figgy did get, like, a knockdown that I don't think they scored. They didn't score the knockdown. I thought it was a knockdown, but Yan was doing too much because the technique, he had quick counters. Figgy really did land a fucking bomb on him. But the quick counters from Yan were really starting to tell the story there in round 4. Round 5, Jan's landing great combos again and leading them with uppercuts because he's found that this is the way to get success, and it worked really, really well. And then Figgy's landing some good strikes, and you're like, holy shit, this is a great round to end the fight, but Jan's volume was doing too much. And Yan does this thing that I love to see so much, and it helps him with a ton of success, and I would have loved to see him throw an overhand off it, And this is where he had success against O'Malley throwing that overhand, is he would grab the hand fight, find the range, push the hand back, and then fire his left hand. So Jan was doing a great job of finding his backhand by using his front hand to range find. It was awesome to see. Like, really high level stuff, really entertaining. Figgy had a strong end. Big question mark kick looked really good. Right hands looked good. Figgy just... It looks like Figgy had a really hard time figuring Jan out, figuring how to get to Jan, and it was making him kind of slow down in the fight and almost had him sitting there starstruck, where he was dropping minutes in this fight because he just wasn't going. And I don't think that was because Figgy was like, I'm scared of Jan, or like, Jan's so much better. He had a hard time figuring Jan out. Jan had a great game plan where he would switch stances, throw combinations from a lot of different areas, strikes from a lot of different areas with body kicks, leg kicks, oblique kicks, punches, spinning. He landed a great spinning back fist again, or spinning back elbow. It was great. It was a great performance from Petr Yan. World-class level. This guy is one of the highest level at bantamweight and always will be. The fact that he went on a 3-fight losing streak, like, let's be real, guys. I love O'Malley. You know I love O'Malley. He beat O'Malley to that fight. He did. And the rematch was Sterling. I guess you can give it to Sterling, but there's also a world in which you can give it to Jan. And then he got fucking, just like, Merab just literally out-cardioed him like crazy because Merab's on EPO. But... because anyone that fucking puts that pace on is on EPO. Like, Anthony Hernandez doesn't put that pace on. Okay? Just saying. But then he called, like, Bisping comes in, does the interview. They call the kid in. Kid's crying. Must not be Petr Yan's son. Kid's a bitch. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Big fan of Petr Yan, guys. Come on, I'm just joking. Brings his kid in. Kid starts crying. Jan's all happy, though. And they're like, oh, he calls out Merab. I'm like, Merab would be a great fight, but... I got an idea. We're going to talk about it more in the matchmaking and explain why. But my idea is, do Umar versus Merab, do Jan versus O'Malley 2, and those two winners, the owner of the title after that fight, can fight the winner of Jan versus O'Malley 2. I don't want to see O'Malley versus Merab rematch. I don't want to see Jan versus Merab rematch. I want to see Umar versus Merab, and if Merab can get past Umar, then we can do one of those two in the rematch. Whoever's coming out as the winner, the more deserved guy. I just want to see a new matchup, but then I think for Figgy, like, sucks because the guy literally deserved a title shot instead of fighting Jan. He really did. He's 3-0 at bantamweight, coming off of being a long-reigning flyweight champion. And he just kind of ends up getting the short end of the stick with a bad matchup for him in Petr Yan. So I'm looking at another top 10 fight for Figgy, obviously. Thinking Cejudo could be a good fight. It's a good Legends fight, one that we hadn't gotten to see yet, that we've always wanted to see. We did Figgy versus Cejudo, then Figgy gets right back on track with a win to go right back into the top 5, get a win, and then eventually maybe get a title shot. So we'll talk about that more in the matchmaking that will be coming out tomorrow. But this was the UFC Macau breakdown. Really good card. Petr Yan is fucking back, guys. I'm so excited, dude. If you're not a Petr Yan fan, you're not an MMA fan, and you need to get the fuck off this channel, okay? Because Petr Yan is that guy. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe.